Hi everyone, this is your favorite friend Jay or Jaylan Salah, as you formerly know her, film critic at Geek Vibes Nation and In Session Film. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Julia Max and Colby Minifie about their new horror, The Surrender, which, by the way, is a lot of things. It has female rage elements, it has generational trauma, so great jump scares, a lot of things. So what I want to ask Julia is, what do you want to say with The Surrender? What do you want to say about horror? About female horror.
I mean, it's funny. I feel like there is this kind of prejudice against like, oh, female horror is its own thing. And it's like it's looked.
Is there?
Yeah, well, I feel like so
Ew.
much horror is targeted at men, which I've never really understood because I'm just like the female experience is inherently more
It's
terrifying.
scary. It's scary in its own right.
Right? I'm just like, why would you not lean into that more? And of course, like if you go back in the horror genre, it's why you have like Final Girls so much. It's just
Mm,
like women, like, yes, our experience is
mm.
terrifying in life. So um I love that this is, I guess it's kind of a final girl, if you will, like because it's such a female-driven piece. But
100%.
but yeah, for me, this movie is really about the process of grief and what that's like. Because I think in society, we're so terrified to talk about the process of death and dying. And I really wanted to explore that and the emotions in that, not just the horror and scary elements, which of course there are, but that emotional roller coaster. And I think, our fantastic actors, Kate and Colby, did wonderful, amazing work. I mean, all of our actors are brilliant in this,
Mm.
but yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with this one. She's phenomenal on it.
Just brilliant. I mean, Colby is just wonderful. And I was just going to ask her, like, how did you tap into again? Because Colby, like, always goes for the extreme. She knows how to tackle these characters, and I love her for that so much. So, how did you tap into this character's psyche? And how were you able to protect yourself while doing so?
I, I have to say, um, this script is written so well and so specifically that and I really connect to it. Like I don't have anything close to the same relationship that Megan has with Barbara and Robert, with my parents. Like I have a really wonderful relationship with my parents, but because this movie is about grief and losing a parent, I just really connected to the possibility of that and the inevitability of that in my own life. And I wanted to explore, I was terrified to explore what that looked like, to be clear. Like I remember I had a Zoom audition with Julia, and then I was like, I need to, once I got the job, I freaked out and I was like, I need to talk to Julia again, just because I knew it was going to be such an emotional challenge, just an emotional, like I had to dig deep into my own
Yeah.
personal relationship with my parents, which is a wonderful relationship. And imagine them, my dad dying for uh a month. And I thought, I want to make sure that if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that with somebody that I really trust. And as soon as we had that, I mean, the first Zoom meeting that I had with Julia, I was like, I really like her. But then the second one, I was like, I gotta do this. Because you want to make sure it's with somebody you really know is going to take care of you and is going to and is it's not about crying, it's not about product based stuff. It was all process based with you,
Yeah.
and that's why I had such a blast. I loved working on this movie.
So did I.
I really loved it.
And it shows, I swear, because also the movie is really intense, but it shows when, like the back scenes or, like behind the scenes, everyone is in harmony. Because when you see Colby and Kate together, you realize now this is a mother-daughter relationship. And as someone, I have a very complex relationship with my mom, whom I adore, but it's really complex. And I love that you explore this here. This is it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, even with our parents, people we love, we have a very complex relationship. So I don't know, how was it like exploring this, and also for Colby to play off Kate, like it was like a ping pong match, honestly.
Yeah.
They're two powerhouse performances. They're like their chemistry was so wonderful, and I'm so glad they really made the characters their own. And because, like you were saying, mother-daughter relationships are so complicated, and you love them so much, but it's just complex. Nothing is ever simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
There's so much
In
history
any family
in
relationship.
any family relationship.
In any relationship,
Well,
really, at all.
touche.
In any
Yeah.
relationship. But mother-daughters in particular, they always say like, son, mother, daughter, father. Like there's like that like thing that
100%.
can happen, and
Yeah.
when it goes this way, it's like there's because oftentimes mothers want to make their daughters into the image that they always wish they were, and
Yeah.
and that sucks. But working with Kate Burton was like, I mean, are you kidding me? She's Kate Burton. She's a
Amazing.
legend. And I've been a fan of her work for so many years. And to get to play, I mean, to get to do a two-hander is like, this is basically, a two-hander. And to get to just tear these scenes apart with a theater legend like Kate was a dream. I mean, one of the blessings is we had a week of rehearsal before we started shooting, and within that we got to explore the depth of the complexity of this relationship, and answer a lot of questions. And so that meant that by the time that we got to doing these scenes, we could just let it rip and flow and scream at each other. And boy, it was so fun. So fun.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing to watch. Yeah, it was really just about making sure that the camera could keep up with them.
Wow. Okay. And I want to know how the camera was able to keep this claustrophobic feeling. Because seriously, there were times I want to get out of this house immediately and I'm not even there. So were you able to create this claustrophobia, the feeling that you trap the viewer with those two women in that house and the thing between them? And I'm not going to reveal more, but the body between them, like the patriarch between them. How are you able to create that claustrophobia?
I mean, we had a fantastic DP, Kaylin Yatsko, who was just such a dream to work with.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love her so much.
Yeah.
And so she was so instrumental in helping us create that in the space. I mean, it's really funny, when we were location scouting, we had initially envisioned this to be in a much smaller house, and then quickly realized we do need a bigger space in order to make it feel smaller, because if it's an actual small space, then the camera would be literally right on top of you. So we were incredibly lucky to get to work at Descanso Gardens, which is just the most beautiful location, and at the Bodie House, which was a dream come true. But honestly, like once, Kaylin and I had all of this stuff planned for how we wanted to shoot it. And once we got in there, our camera op, like Goose, was so good. And we were like,
Goose.
oh, we could do so many more things than we had initially planned.
Yeah. Goose,
because he was so great.
Goose is like the third actor in that relationship.
Yeah,
because,
watching it was like a dance.
Yeah, we're
watching you
dancing with him
guys.
all day.
It was
Like,
amazing.
yeah, he would pick up on the smallest instinct that I had, and he would like it was a really, I actually haven't had a relationship with a camera operator like that, now that I think about it. Goose is like, it's the second time I've worked with Goose too. Goose is like, love
It was
that man.
great. Yeah.
Love that man.
It was great.
Yeah.
Okay, Colby, did you get scared? Because there were scenes. I mean, was it really scary? Tell me. Was it scary
I
behind the scenes? I want to know.
No. But only because I mean, everybody, there was one moment with Vaughn Armstrong, who plays Robert. I can't reveal which moment this is, but there's a moment where he made these sounds. I watched the monitor. I was not in the scene. He made these sounds, and I got full body chills while I was at the monitor in the same room, and I had to stop myself from like like cry laughing because I was like, I was like terrified by what he was doing. He was so committed. I respect the shit out of Vaughn Armstrong. But like in terms of like this day, like days on set, I I love playing pretend. Like I love like this is my favorite thing to do, and I know it's not reality. And so I get to, because I know it's not reality, I get to go as far as I want within that imaginary space. And, you know, as soon as they call cut, I'm like making fart jokes because that's the only way I get through anything.
Yeah.
But,
And it's a
but
heavy film too. I can imagine that. Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so funny. I feel like they always say horror is one of the most fun genres
yeah,
to make.
yeah,
I think comedy is the
the
hardest
hardest.
and
Yeah,
least
right.
fun.
The least fun because if people aren't laughing, you know you're not doing a good job. And then you want to go hide in a hole somewhere, you know.
So true.
So true.
Hey, Julia, what do you want to say about grief and about, I think, the feminine experience in experiencing grief? Because I feel like it was very ritualistic film here. You could see all the rituals done to preserve something that, especially the mother was like, I lived my life with this person 40 years. I forget who I was before him. So this hit me so hard because I think it would resonate with a lot of women watching. So what did you want to comment on with these ideas about even women preserving grief so that they can't reveal or like forget their identity before that grief, before that long period of caring for grief? I just want to know because it just blew my mind.
I mean, I think I think right now there's so much, not right now, but always, there's always been this need to try to rush people through grief. Like people don't like seeing that. They don't want to deal with it. They're very hesitant to, I know when my stepfather died, people were hesitant to even ask, like, how are you doing or something, because it's like, oh, I don't want to like remind you that this happened. And it's like, I'm very aware that he passed away. Like, you're not gonna
Only thing I
remind me about it. Um, but I think the most important thing that I learned in actually writing this film, that's become so important to me is as soon as someone dies, all that's left are the people that are left behind, And so I remember kind of arguing with my mom for a bit and pushing back on like what to do regarding like the death doula that we use. And I was like, I don't know if he would want this. Like, this doesn't feel like, and quickly realizing it really doesn't matter at this point. We're all that we have now. And the only thing that matters is me supporting my mom. Because as hard as it is for me, like that is devastating, losing a partner that you've had and lived with for like over 40 years. And as hard as it was for me, writing this is the closest I could come to imagining how much more difficult it was for her. And so I think, yes, trying to have more empathy for others and support people who have lost a loved one is the most important thing we can do.
And also there's something interesting. There's something in your question that made me think about like, there's these two women who we as women all live in a man's world. We speak men's language, we dream in men's language. And for the patriarch of the family to suddenly die, and for two women to be left with what is this relationship without this third person who actually operates the language we all speak. There's in trying to bring him back, there's like you're having to contend with what it means to be a woman without the man in the room. I think there's really something there with what you wrote.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know that for me, like my stepfather was very much the peacekeeper between me and my mom. He was always like the go-between that would help us bridge that gap sometimes. And it has been really interesting navigating that path without him and seeing like, okay, we don't have someone who's going to keep bringing us back together and solving it. We just have to do that on our own now. And realizing the amount of patience that we need to have for our loved ones, which is not always the easiest thing, but it's so important.
It is. It is. Julia, Colby, thank you so much for talking to me. This was a great conversation and what a great, intense film. Seriously, I had the best time of my life watching it, and I can't wait for the world to watch it.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
It's good to see you again.
I hope I see you again, Colby. I know this will happen.
It's gonna happen.
Yes.